Hello again, this is Jeff Scott, your instructor for the online 152-163 Relational Database Design class for the fall 2015 semester at Blackhawk Technical College. I just did an overview lecture of Chapter 2, Querying a Database, and we looked at the objectives, we looked at the roadmap, what a query was, etc., some examples of queries. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump right in and start doing the queries as they are done by the author. Okay, so I am on page 78, and again, I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between the virtual desktop and the regular desktop as I'm doing this lecture. So here's our Pavant Publishing. Now, you may or may not remember, but in Chapter 1, we did create a simple customer query. So in there, we said we wanted the customer number, the customer name, the amount paid, the current amount due, the returns, and the book rep number. And since all of them are checked, you see that when we ran the query, and remember, we run it by clicking the red exclamation mark with the word run under it, that's all the information we get. All right, if we go back again into Design View and we uncheck the customer number and let's say the book rep number, okay, I'm unchecking those and I run it again, now those things do not show. All right, so let me go back and let me put them back in there again. Let me save that and let me get out of that query. All right, so this is what we're going to be doing. All right, so they talk about using text in a the criteria, etc. So let's go in and let's start writing some queries. So I'm going to click my Create menu option, which brings up this whole thing down here is referred to as the Create ribbon. And I've got my choice. I can either go into Query Wizard and bring things up, or I can go to Query Design. When I go to Query Design, it shows me the tables that I have available. So for the first one here, we're just going to bring up the customer table. So I'm going to click Add, then click Close. All right, I can stretch this out if I want so that I'm able to see everything, but I don't have to do that. I can either click on a field and drag it down here, all right, which is a little bit, for lack of better words, almost too much work, but I can do that if I want to for the customer number, or I can just double click on the field. All right, and I want amount paid, it looks like, and current date. So if I run that query right now, there's what I get, those four fields. And as shown earlier, when I put my mouse in between these two and I get the crosshairs, I can double click so to make it a little bigger so that everything that's in there shows. Didn't have to do much, just made that a little bit bigger. All right, now if I go back again into Design View, as they show, they start to show here, I'm on page 82. So if the only customer, 81, if the only customer that I want to see is CSU10, let's make sure that that's correct. CSU10, right there. All right. So if that's the only line that I want to see, the one that's in gray here, I can go back to Design View and I can put a criteria in there. So I'm clicking in the box that says criteria, CSU10. Notice that I put it in lowercase. This should be case insensitive. When I hit enter, it puts it in double quotes. When I run it, there it is. So I can put it in uppercase, lowercase, or mixed case. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. All right, so there's my criteria. This is what's shown in the book on pages 81 and 82. All right, so I'm going to save this. But rather than calling it query 1 or CH2 query or whatever, in fact, I'll do that. I'll call it CH2 query, and then I'll call it CSU10. All right, because that's the customer number that we're looking for. Now, that's a long name, but I can come in here and very quickly identify the fact that it's come from Chapter 2. It's a query. It's under the queries section anyway, but a little bit about what I'm looking for with it. All right, what if I want to do a wildcard? So one thing I can do is I can come back and I can create another query. But it looks like the next query that we have in here with a wildcard that's on pages 83 and 84, all right, it looks like it's asking for the same information. So what I can do is I can close this query. I can right mouse click on the query. I can choose copy. And then paste. What do you want to call this one? Well, I want to, it says customer queries. I guess I did the wrong one. So copy and then paste. All right, so I'm going to change the name of this to CH2 query S, because that's customer name that starts with S. Now when I click OK and I bring that query up in design view, notice what's there. Well, I don't want that anymore. I just want a customer name that starts with S. Now notice if I only put an S and I hit enter for criteria. So if I only put in there an S and nothing else, and I run it, I don't get the results I'm expecting. That's looking for an exact match. That's not what I want here. I want any query that starts with an S. So I want an S asterisk. So notice it changes to the word like. That's like is used with pattern matching. So now when I run it, there's Stallone Community College and Seaborn College. Exactly what they've shown for the results that are in your book on page 84. Now, I may not be doing it exactly the way they're doing it in the book. I'm doing it in what I consider to be the most straightforward way possible. So we're going to get the same results whether you do it the way I'm showing it to you or you do it the way that's in the book. Is one better than the other? I'm using the one I'm more familiar with. All right. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to close it, and I'm again going to copy it. And I'm going to call this one CH2 query, but instead of S, I'm going to call this no city. In fact, no show city. Okay? And in this no show city, I'm going to bring that up in design view. I want to get rid of this. I'm going to bring the city in, and notice if I run it now, I get the city. All right? But I'm going to go back into design view, and I'm going to uncheck the S and run it, and now there's no city. So that's using a criteria for a field that's not in the results. And if I only want to show what they say there, no show city, and I think they asked there for Gaston. So I can still put criteria in, Gaston. Let's put it in all caps this time, just to show that it's totally case insensitive. And notice when I run it, I only get 2 records, those 2 customers. If I did this, just to prove that I've done it correctly, I'm going to check it and make sure that they both say Gaston, and they do. All right, then I can go back and I can remove the check mark. Quite oft times, at least, I will do that. I want to guarantee that what I'm looking for, that I've written it correctly. So I'm going to, again, save this. All right, let's go into parameter queries. All right, so for the criteria, so again, I'm going to save this and close it, and copy, and paste. And before I do that, and I'm going to do this one, Chapter02 query parameter city. All right, but I want to go down to this one that said no show city. And change that one to, so I'm going to click the rename, no show city Gaston. All right, because that's what was actually in there. Now I'm going to go into this parameter query and open it up in Design View. And instead of Gaston like that, I'm going to put in there, in brackets, enter city. Let's see if I've done this correctly. So I run this. Now it says enter city. I'm going to put in Gaston. I should get those 2 records back. There they are. All right. So if I run it again, so I'm going to come back, go back into Design View, and run it again. And this time I'll put in Adelphia. And we get 3 back. Okay, I'm going to run it again. And I'm purposely going to spell something wrong. In fact, let's do this. New York. And there's no one that meets the criteria. The query itself is correct. When you run a query and you think the criteria is correct, but you get back no results, that means that there are no records that meet your criteria. All right, the other thing I want to show you in here is if I go into this, and it doesn't, there's a way that you can make this bigger. I've got to figure out what it is. All right, but this is what's right in here. This stuff that you see where it says select all this stuff that's in here. This is referred to as structured query language. The follow-up class next semester to this one is 152-147, Relational Database Development. In that class, we use a much more powerful relational database management system that is referred to as MySQL. You write all your queries like this. It's not GUI, it's not graphical the way we're doing it right now. All right, but it is much more powerful. All right, so we did the parameter query. So we're up to about page 89, using a number for a criteria. All right, and it looks like we want, so again, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to save my query. All right, I'm going to close my query. And I'm going to copy this one. And I'm going to call this one CH2 query number criteria. Again, you may not like the what I'm using in here actually for names. You feel free to use your own, okay? As long as I can figure them out. So I'm going to get rid of this. And here, what we want is we want a current due that's 0. So I'm going to type in a 0 and hit enter. And it did not put it into double quotes, so I was mistaken. All right. So let's run it first without the 0 in there. We'll run it first without the 0. We don't need this city anymore, so we should be able to right mouse click on that and choose cut, and it's gone. So if we run this, we see everybody. When we look at this, the current due, it looks like it's just Hammond's, this record right here is the only one with an amount due, or a current due, I should say, that's 0. Let's go back and verify that. So under the, it's the current due, I'm going to put a 0 in there, and I'm going to run the query again. And indeed, we get Hammond's. All right, that takes us to about page 89 here. All right, let's take a look at some stuff that uses comparison operators. So again, as I've been doing, saving my query, closing my query, doing a copy, and then doing a paste. Now, if for some reason what I want is for those particular queries to be in the order in which I've done them instead of alphabetic order, I could say CH2 query 01, CSU10, etc. I could do it like that. I'm not that concerned with it, so I'm just going to leave it the way it is. This is going to be a comparison operator. So this is CH2 query comparison is what I called it. Open it up in Design View. And what we want here is, oh, we're using the book rep table. So I don't even need this one. All right. I don't need any of these anymore. Okay? So what I can do is, let's see. I clicked the button that said Show Table, and now I want Book Rep. So I'm going to click Add. All right, notice it's got all that stuff in there for me automatically. I want to remove the table here. This is the only table I want. As soon as I did that, the system immediately cleared out my query pane for me because it didn't make sense anymore. All right, so what do we want in here for this example? Again, I'm following what's in your textbook, and I'm on page 90. So we want the book rep number, the last name, the first name, the start date. So if we ran that right now, we'd get that information for all 4 of our reps. Not a problem. All right. But I'm going to go back into design view, and I'm going to say we want ones that started after 1/1/2013. So who started after 1/1/2013? Not that one. That one did, that one did, and that one did. All right, so we should be just removing Melina Perez. All right, so I'm going to go to design view, and I'm going to say under criteria, greater than 1/1/2013. And you'll notice it puts little pound signs around there, which is what Access uses for dates. If I run the query, again, who's missing? Melina Perez. All right, because she did not start after 1/1/2013. Notice if we go back again and change it from 2013 to 2014, and we run the query, we only have Tracy Rogers now. But I'm doing the best I can to run these and make them show you the same thing that you're seeing in the book. All right? Okay, now compound criteria as I get up to page 91. So I'm going to copy again. It looks like we're going back to the customer table. All right, so I will grab one of those. And we'll call that CH2 query compound. And open it up in design view. So we want the customer number, we want the customer name, the amount paid, the current that's due. We also want returns and the BR number. So, not hard to do. Returns and book rep number. Okay? All right, so we've got all of that information, but we want returns greater than 0, and we want book rep number of 42. I think it'll work whether I put, well, let's run it. So there's the book rep of 42, and there's returns, and all of them are greater than 0. Applewood State University, Farnham State University, and Mahitable College is exactly as it's shown in figure 228 on page 91. All right, so that's compound with an and it's an and because the criteria are on the same line. I think it doesn't matter if I put a blank space there. I think it removed it. Okay, so I'm going to save that, and I'm going to close that. Now, I want to change this from compound. I want to change the name because I want to rename it compound and. And then I'm going to copy that and paste it. And this one will be compound or because that's what's shown on page 92 of the text. All right, so let's bring that up into design view. And this time, we want them on separate lines. So we're putting the 42 on another line. Notice it is now on the line that's got the word or. So the line where it says field, all right, we've got our field name. The table gives us our table name. The sort, which we haven't gotten to yet in here, is ascending or descending order if it's selected. The show, if it's checked, means show it. If it's unchecked, means don't show it. Criteria on the same line, if there are multiple, means and. On separate lines, if there are multiple criteria, mean or. When we did the other one and we ran this, we only got one record back. Well, here we get return 0. All right. But remember, our other criteria is book rep 42. We're getting all of them back, which doesn't look like it'd be right. So let's go back and look at it again. Return 0 or book rep number 42. Well, it's giving us everybody, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 records. And some of these, let's go back and double check our criteria here. Oh, that's just returns greater than 0. All right, I thought it was returns equals 0. So there's book rep 42, but notice they've got returns of 0, but that's okay. Same with this one, because again, they're book rep 42. All right, so that's the compound criterion involving or that's on page 92 of the book. All right, let's do a little bit of sorting. So we'll just copy this one. I'm going to remove most of it, but that's okay. So I think that there are at least a couple of sort examples. So I'm going to call this query sort 01. All right. And I'm going to go back into design mode and just going to remove everything, and I'm going to put the city in there. And you'll notice that when I run this, that by default, I get several of these. And they're not really in any specific type of order. So if I go back and go back into here, into design view, and I say I want to sort it in ascending order based on customer, notice how different it looks. Oh, and I did the wrong, doggone it, I did the wrong query. That was supposed to be my query come. So let me go back and fix this. I'm going to close this. Close that. I'm going to copy my and. Do an or. I should get a message telling me I already have one by that. Do I want to replace it? Yes. Now I want to bring that or up, and I want to put this on a separate line. That was the original or that we had in here. I ran the right query, but I ran it, unfortunately, on the wrong. I got the right information, but I ran it on the wrong query. So I'm going to save, and I'm going to close that. Bring back up now my query sort 01. That's the one I wanted to run here. Remove all this. Want just the city. You already saw it. There it is in no special order. But if we go back again into design view and we click the sort and the down arrow and ascending and run it again, now it's in ascending order. So I'm going to save that. All right, now I'm going to copy this. And we'll call this query sort 02. All right, so it looks just the same as the other one did. Oops, I don't need one anymore. I should have closed that to begin with. All right, so there's 2. But now what I want to do is I want to omit duplicates. All right. So I want to return to design view. All right. And the author says here, tap or click the second field, the empty one on the right, to produce an insertion point. Okay. If necessary, tap or click design on the ribbon, and I'm already there, to show the design tab. Tap or click the property sheet button. Somewhere in here it should say property sheet. There it is, right up there, way to the right. So there it is. So I want to come down now, and where it says unique records, currently says no. So notice I can do this. I can double click it where it says no and change it from yes to no. I can manually type in yes or no, or I can click the down arrow, but I want that to be yes now. All right, so let's run it. And we still got, so let's double check. Let's go back into design view. All right. It was unique values, not unique records. So I'm sorry, that should have been yes. All right, so let's run that. And notice now we don't have any repeats. So I'm going to save that. And that's what's shown in your book, omitting duplicates on 94, 95, and 96. All right. All right, I'm going to do one more. Actually, two more. We'll get up to the joins that are on page 99, and then we'll stop for this lecture and I'll start up again. All right, so we want to sort on multiple keys now. So I'm going to grab this query sort, copy, and paste. You don't have to do this. You can go and redo your stuff every single time from the beginning. And maybe when you're starting out, that's a better thing to do. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to close this, and I want to bring up query sort 3, go into design view. I don't need that particular one anymore. I want customer number, customer name, book rep number, and amount paid. Now the book rep number is not on here. You say, what do you mean it's not on there? It's not available in here. Oh, yes it is. I'm sorry, book rep number. We haven't gone into the joins yet. So there's book rep number, and there is amount paid. So if I run this right now, I see for every record, the customer number, customer name, the book rep number, and the amount paid. So you can see I have all of those. All right. And what I want to do is I want to put it in ascending order based on book rep number, and then in ascending order based on the amount paid. Again, I could make either or both of these descending also if I wanted to. So there's 42, and those are in ascending order. There's 53, and those are in ascending order. There's 65, and those are in ascending order. All right, the same results that you see in figure 2-39 on page 97. Finally, let's do the top values query. All right, we'll run that one in just a second, but let's save this. Let's close it, and let's copy. You can already see, hopefully, that I'm violating my own rules here. And what I mean is, now I know they're sort queries, but I don't know the difference between 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so I'm not doing what I would consider to be a real good job of naming here either. All right, so let's come back to this particular query. Open it up in design view. All right, but now instead of return, we'll just return our top 5. So when we run it, we're getting back 15 records. But I'm going to go back into design view and just change it to 5. And run it, and you notice all I get are my top 5. When I say top 5, first 5 would be probably a better way to do it. So I'm going to come back in just a minute and start on page 99 with the joins, and I'll be back with that. Let me save this. Close it, and we'll pick it up then in a couple minutes.